Conservatives, who Elon Musk said he was going to personally destroy their political careers, said to Elon, go pound sand. They voted against him. Now, the next big test is, what will senators do? They said Gates was not acceptable. Will they say that Pete Hegseth, who's deeply unqualified for this position, is not acceptable? Will they say Kash Patel, who has said he's going to throw people in jail? That's the next big test. But as we move along, it is important for people to say, this is what the Supreme Court did yesterday. This is what the 11th Circuit did yesterday. Looks a hell of a lot like what they've been doing for the past 8 years.
So the 11th Circuit had slapped down Eileen Cannon twice before, because it's just bogus rulings on her part. And they're going to honor that judicial responsibility. Supreme Court decision yesterday, okay. All right, but I don't see the Supreme Court addressing the fact that one of its justices had an improper conversation.
Michael, I'm not saying we're walking in a winter wonderland.
Joe, you had your moment. Let me just finish the point.
I know, but
I get
tell
that.
us something we don't know.
Well, I'm telling you something that you seem to forget. And so let me make my point. You may not like it, but I'm going to make it. And the reality of it is, I take your civility argument, and you like to say 78 million people voted for Donald Trump. Well, 82 million people voted for Joe Biden. Right. And he didn't get that civility that you're talking about from Donald Trump in those 4 years. Right. So now the expectation is, oh, because he's won again and he got 78 million people, we all got to be civil to Donald Trump. Well, okay, I'm prepared to be civil.
Nobody said that.
You did.
No, I didn't say that.
I did.
No, so I didn't say everybody has to be civil.
The reality of it is, you're using the term civil. I've never used that term. I'm using your term. You put civility on the table.
You said we all have to be civil. There is a pushback that you have to have.
But Joe.
I'm just talking about Barack Obama.
I'm saying, I'm not, fine. I'm not talking about that. My main point is, everybody's looking at this from a one-way perspective. How we need to approach Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. How the hell is he approaching us?
Yeah.
Right? The man wants to lock up citizens. The man wants to turn the government against him. How are we to respond to that? Are we supposed to be civil?
Michael, do you think we don't know that?
Doesn't seem like it.
Michael, why do you...
Not you. I'm just saying the broader you.
Why do you feel the need to create false choices?
I'm not creating a false choice. I'm using your words.
You have created...
I'm using you. You put civility on the table.
My words. You took me saying that it's not the end of the world, that Barack Obama smiled and talked to Donald Trump, and you're turning that into that we have no idea what's before us.
I'm not.
You will play very well today on Blue Sky and Threads and X. Congratulations.
I'm not playing to anybody. I don't have an audience here. I'm just saying. I don't have a particular. I'm talking to the American people just like you are. I'm using the words you used.
No, you're twisting.
And so I'm not twisting your words. So let me untwist them.
Okay, good.
Civility is a two-way street, as I said at the very beginning, and then you attacked that.
No, I didn't attack that.
You did.
Yes, Michael.
You did. So you didn't. No.
You need to go back and look at the tape.
We can look at the tape. But the reality of it is, my general point, Joe, is that civility is a two-way street. If you want to throw civility on the table, I'm with you. I'm all down with that. I think absolutely what we witnessed yesterday with 5 living presidents sitting there at the funeral of a former president is a seminal American moment, all right? And it's an important one. And, yeah, the politics and the sort of funny moments that occur, those are great. But next week, we start a new regime. We start a new direction. And everybody wants us to behave a certain way in this new era. And I'm more than willing to do that.
Way?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, if it's civility, if it's accommodation to Donald Trump, as we see corporate America doing, if it's bending the knee, whatever it is. But my point is,
does anybody here think that we should accommodate Donald Trump when he violates political norms, democratic norms? Does anybody? Because I don't.
Because that's not what we're talking about.
Does anybody believe that?
Conversation, Joe.
There you go.
Right. He's absolutely
this conversation because.
But Susan, it doesn't mean we don't need to have it. We need to have it.
But do we have to have a fight about Barack Obama and civility? No. I take your point. I think what maybe Michael's trying to do, and there are no answers to this right now, is what does the nature of standing up for the rules and the norms and the people who are going to be affected by this, what does that look like? It has not taken shape yet. I take your point that, you know, there's a long history of parties going into an internal reckoning after a defeat like this. But I will tell you, having lived in Russia in the first few years after Vladimir Putin took power, the debates among those who sought to oppose him, they benefited him. They benefited him because they took their own fights over their version of civility much more seriously than they took the serious structural changes that were taking place in Russia that led to the end of Russian democracy.
Those structural changes, Michael, are happening right now. This is, again, something that we understand deeply. And it's not just a threat on democracy. It's a threat on capitalism. It's dozens of billionaires going in and consolidating power. It looks like a plutocracy. We understand this. Everybody understands this. And nobody's saying be civil in the face of or being compliant. Or to be Mark Zuckerberg. And nobody's saying that. Again, the fact that I just talked about, hey, may not be a bad thing that Barack Obama was polite. And suddenly this is me saying everyone must be civil and compliant. That is a false choice. That is a false narrative.
Okay.
Why should you say it every day?
Said it. That's fine. But, you know, Susan used a phrase like, you know, the people who are going to be affected here. And Anand used the phrase about the people who are feeling undefended. That's where my head is. Yeah. That's where my head is. And that's where the New Republic is. There are millions and millions of Americans who are scared.
Yeah.
For good reason.
They're not alone.
For damn good reason, yeah.
I think,
and I wake up thinking about them.
Hundreds of millions of people
and you know, that's who we're gonna. That's who we ought to be worrying about.
Can I just say one thing
January
that
20th
I hope we all remember about the outcome of the election? With all due respect to Anand, the American public is not waiting for someone to lead them out of fascism. That is not what the American public sent us a message about. They're waiting for people to listen to them and actually engage with them in their communities about what they want from the government. And so part of the challenge here is continuing to have the conversation in a way that's academic and ivory tower and not what actually people are dealing with. And that, to me, is a big part of the outcome and why Trump connected in a weird way, and why we need to change what we do and not talk about it as leading people out of fascism. That's not what the public is looking for.
To big picture, you're both right in your own way, but we have to move forward. Because, Jen, you sat down with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau for an exclusive interview yesterday. This is for your show this Sunday, right?
This Sunday, exactly.
So tell us about it.
First of all, they called me yesterday morning when I was on the way to drop my kids off for a school delay and asked me if I could interview the Prime Minister of Canada yesterday. And obviously you always say yes, but that's the history. But I sat down and talked with him about everything from Trump calling him the 51st governor. How did he feel about that? To also, what was he going to do about tariffs? We had a good conversation. Here's a clip from it. I'm assuming he didn't bring up his intention to publicly say he was going to annex through economic means your country.
It actually sort of came up at one point, and then we started musing back and forth about this. And when I started to suggest, well, maybe there could be a trade for Vermont or California for certain parts, he immediately decided that it was not that funny anymore, and we moved on to a different conversation.